Hello, everyone. Happy Monday and welcome to another Adobe Live, where you'll find us every lunchtime between 12 and 1 here in the UK. Hope you've all had a fab weekend. And just before I do the usual stuff about YouTube and all of that business, just in case you're confused, on our poster for this particular thing, it says calendar design. That's not what we're going to be doing today, but we'll clear all of that up in just a second, just in case it's confusing and you're watching live. But first of all, if you're watching on YouTube, that's fine. You can do that just there, but you won't be able to get involved. You won't be able to dive into the chat because that is not the chat you are looking for. And what you want to do really is to come across to behance.net/Adobe Live, where you can join us. Now, I'll give a shout out to a few people in just a moment, but first of all, I want to welcome back to Adobe Live the fabulous Gabriella Marcella. How are you doing?
I'm good, thank you.
I am glad to see you. It's great to see you here. And today we're going to be doing some Risograph stuff, right? From Risotto.
Yes.
From your fabulous.
Hopefully we'll still be as colourful as the calendars, but I was just in the mood for this, so hopefully everyone else will be.
I'm sure they will absolutely love it. So it's really good. Really, really good. So let's just have a quick look who we've got in the house. So far we've got Andreas, Guten Tag, Andreas, and Tim in the background looking after us all. Here's Sean, another Guten Tag. So there we go. Hi, Sean. We've got John. We've got Jackie. Hi, Jackie. And Oliver's here. Caroline's here. Sandrine's here. Oh, man, fantastic. We've got Vedanshi. There you go. I hope I said that correctly. I'm really sorry. And I think we've got Robert in there, just abbreviating himself today. So fantastic. There we are. And some of these people, Gabriella, have been with us ever since the Adobe Live journey started way back.
That's so cool.
I know. It's fantastic. And they're here every single day. Brilliant. So right then, so for the people that haven't seen you before or missed out on you last time, how would you like to introduce yourself?
I'm always really bad at this because I miss out probably really important things. But okay, so I run Risotto, and that's a Risograph print specialist and stationery company. So that's nice and concise.
It is.
And today, so Risograph, for those who don't know, is a print method that's a bit like screen printing and a bit like photocopying in terms of it looks like a photocopier, but essentially it works with coloured ink drums that you have stencils wrapped around. So it's quite like a screen printer. So you get these really nice inky textures. It's got a limited number of colours, but within the sort of limitations of it, you can do a lot of really great stuff. So it's been really popular in the last 10 years. It sort of resurged, and a lot of creatives are now using it for something a bit different because it's still quite affordable relative to screen printing. And you can get fluorescent inks and stuff. So it's a really nice, punchy print method. That's my favorite.
There you are. And of course you can get really beautiful fluorescence in there as well, which is great. And that's a big thing that a lot of people really, really like. So no, that's going to be fantastic. And you're going to show us some process stuff today, right? Is that
exactly? Yes. Yeah. So I thought basically, so with Risotto, most of it or like all of it is my stuff. So I'm a designer. So I use the services, obviously I print for other people, but the products and a lot of the design comes from me. As it's been a really nice outlet for that. But then there was a struggle to sort of make a bridge between like the stuff I print for other people, which is, there's some beautiful stuff. I never have sort of a platform to share it, and then my own stuff. So I basically developed the Riso Club in 2017, and it is a monthly print subscription where basically I get in touch with an artist or illustrator from somewhere in the world. Most of the time I've never met them, and I've just seen their work online, and I've gotten in touch and asked them to invite 3 other friends, so there's 4 of them in total, to submit me artwork, and I print it and then post it out to my members. So essentially they come in this little envelope, and you get 4 prints from, and each issue's from a different city or place. So essentially the artist will invite people from that area So it's always really random. Like I never know what artwork's coming in. All I know is one person's work that I've been really interested by. And the collection's great because it means that I'll print things like photography, type stuff, like collage. The variety of like artworks is pretty cool, which I like. So it's a nice bridge for me to sort of help set up the artwork and also then print it and then post it out to people. So
That's
that I don't
fantastic.
have cover that. So
yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, and it is excellent. I'm a member myself, so I look forward to getting those through the post. They're really nice. You've got a little special shelf out the front there.
It'll fill up, hopefully.
Hopefully it will. Yes. Yeah. It's
Great.
only a few in there because I haven't been a member very long, but I do really like it.
Totally. Well, this, so today I was going to talk you through the upcoming issue for December, which is from Bucharest in Romania.
Cool.
So I've basically, all the artists have sent me their work and they've already separated it, but I'm going to talk you through their separations and where I'll need to sort of tweak and this sort of, basically it can touch on a lot of the sort of common issues with setting up artwork. So hopefully it'll be interesting for the audience because there's different styles of artwork here, but the process in which I'll separate them or they've been separated is similar. So hopefully it'll apply to people watching and it's relevant and they can ask questions.
Fantastic.
And also, Tony, you can hopefully point out some stuff that I'm doing in a really tedious way or like little shortcuts because I feel like I'm not embarrassed anymore about it, but I feel I'm really excited to learn hopefully a little bit.
Well, I'll do my best, but I mean, your workflow, if your workflow works for you, stick with your workflow. That's what I would say.
Totally.
Yeah. If it ain't broke.
I know, totally. So, shall I start?
Yes, please do begin, and I'll start scanning the. I've already been engaging with the chat just a little bit on a couple of other things. People are very interested in calendars. I still want to talk about calendars for a minute, but no, they're going to love this as well. So no, we're all good. But no, I'll keep scanning that for the chat. But also, away you go.
If there's time at the end, we can dip into calendars.
Yeah, there we go. Or we could just get you back again.
Great. Yeah, let's do that.
And
maybe my calendar head will have like relaxed. I feel like 2021 has been like, I feel like I've been late to that year for a long time and it's quite intense. So this is kind of like nice that I'm doing something else.
There you are. This looks fun.
So there's 4 artworks I'm going to talk you through. And essentially this is all done in 4 colors. So the artists have chosen a palette of 4 colors that the whole edition is printed in. So it sort of helps to create like a nice uniform, it brings all the artworks together within that set. So this one uses yellow ink, red, blue, medium blue, which is quite a vibe. It's actually like this blue.
Yeah.
And black. So it's quite a nice palette in terms of you've got yellows for the lights and the brights, black to create your darker tones, and then the reds and the blues can blend to make purple. So it's nice when you've got 4 colors that can also create quite a nice spectrum of other colors like greens and through the mixing, because Risograph inks are print with a translucency, so you can overlay to create more colors.
Yeah. So I guess the key to this is the multiply blend mode, right? In that's the.
Exactly.
I don't mean to steal your thunder. I'm just.
No, exactly. No, but it's helpful for you to put what I'm saying into context. I might be missing like the things that make it relevant.
Yeah, so it's another subtractive process. So in the way that CMYK is a subtractive process, so you start out with a paper white and you subtract from it with the ink and so on. So yeah, cool.
Great. So this is the artwork by Livia, and so this is like her proof. So if I turn this off, behind is her layers. So essentially what I've done here, so this is the black, which is just the sort of background part. This is blue. This is red. And this is yellow. So this is what she sent me. So basically this process is what I do when other people send me artwork, and I proof it digitally so I can kind of check how their transparencies or how their stencils are going to roughly turn out. So what I do is I use like the effects panel to create like a simulation of the overlay.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah.
So basically that's her black and white of the yellow stencil. And then so in the effects panel, I go to blending options, and I always take this one, blend interior effect as group. So when I hit multiply across, it works, because sometimes when I do an effect, it doesn't work in the multiply.
Yeah.
Anyway, cool. So then I go to color overlay, and I pick the screen blend mode. And then from here, I can like pick pretty much any color to sort of give it the appearance of it printing in that color. So if this was the pink layer, it would be this. And normally I have my little risotto swatches, the ink swatches of all the specific ink colors.
Yeah.
But for ease, I often just use like I do it by eye and just pick yellow, because yellow is pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
So I do this with all the layers apart from black, because it's already black. So that's yellow turned on. Then the red turned on is like this.
Yep.
And then blue effect on, and then black is as it is. And then with all of the layers, you can see here, I've got the multiply effect on. So quite quickly, I can build up to sort of see a simulation of what the black and white separations will look like in this sort of labeled print colors, because most people will just name that file yellow, even though it's a black and white file. But it can be quite hard to obviously read it in these layers. So this is a really nice way to sort of play around. And even from here, you can also experiment to see what it would be like if, for example, the yellow was printed in like a blue or a green. So it's quite nice even just to play around with a palette. So I'm going to go okay, but go back. So hopefully it's back in yellow. But it also allows me to compare her proof, her original sort of like her the artwork that she'd like it to look like with the file she sent. So you can kind of see that it's like it needs more green basically. So the yellow layer needs addressed, like this flower here, I think it's like a big tulip, is sort of, it's not visible enough. So what I would do is go into the yellow layer. Actually, Tony, you know when you do curves?
Yep.
And how do you do it so you can still edit the curve layer? So it's like, is it a layer?
You can do it as an adjustment layer and clip that layer. So if you just go to your adjustments, which are immediately above where you are now, and you'll see curves is the third one right the way up the screen. That's it. Okay. And just, that's it. Slow down a bit. That's it. Just there. Click on that. Okay. So that creates you that. Now at the icons at the bottom of that panel, okay, the one on the left-hand side clips that adjustment to the layer immediately below it. Yeah. Perfect. You can also, if you want to do it old school, because there's always an old school way in Photoshop as well. You can just hover between the adjustment layer and the layer underneath and hold down the option key, and you get this funky little icon. But I'd stick with that one.
this one where you just go layer below.
I'll just do that. Yeah, absolutely.
So does that mean I could drag this?
Yeah, you could move it around. I mean, but the thing is, if you wanted to apply it across a bunch of different layers, what you would but exclude some others, what you'd do is you tive layer groups to do that. Great. And then you can apply that. Yeah.
A rainy day, because this, I mean, it's like, this is the stuff. It's like I've managed to do this by mistake once, and then I was like, couldn't it. I was like, was I able to then re-edit it? Okay, so this window here is what I can play with. Is that right?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, cool. Absolutely.
So,
and also if it's of any help to you, you've also got an on image button there as well, with my favorite ever icon in Photoshop, which is stapler accident finger. Can you see there's some tools on the left hand side inside of that panel?
Yeah.
You see the one at the top that looks like a finger that's been stapled?
Yeah.
If you click on that, you can then go out onto your image and click and drag up and down on an area to change the curve in that region. So you can actually go ahead and click and drag up and down, and it should modify your curve. There you go.
Oh, so, whoa, that's cool. Okay.
Which is handy for some things, but not for all. But it's nice to know that it's there.
Oh, so maybe, but this is quite, because I want to be specific to, so for example, like I'm going to lighten out the background so it's a bit more white because her proof is quite white. So you could obviously, I could white it out. I just want to get it maybe to about here, because then I start to lose the tulip more, because it's like hard to, I need to sort of keep hold of that information that's there to make that dark. So maybe, oh God, I'm so bad at curves. You're going to be like,
no, it's all good.
Okay.
Remember, it's not. This is a chat between friends. It's not a product tutorial. We're all good.
Okay, that's it.
Oliver's ragging me already for Tony always being teaching. I'm sorry.
No, I want that.
I know.
Okay.
I know.
So this already is a bit closer to like what we'd like it to be. So I'm going to now just come out of that and check the proof. So I still need a lot more like green in the flowers. It's quite olivey, but I need to also remember that this is only a simulation, like how it will print. I can kind of now, if I just look at the yellow layer, basically when I'm looking at a stencil like that, I want to see the tonal range. So like I know that this is going to print 25% yellow, so it will be lighter than, it will be a wee bit darker than what I'm seeing in the proof. But I basically always like to have a variety of like really dark areas that will print punchy and light areas. So it's like a well-balanced screen or stencil. So that's missing. Oh yeah, the effect isn't on. Ding. So the other thing I can do with this yellow to sort of like oomph it a bit more would be, oh yeah, there's a new select button that I found.
Oh, the object select tool.
Object select. Will it catch it all? Oh yeah,
it might do. In case you don't like it as a rectangle, by the way, you can switch it to a lasso just in the control strip at the top. You see where it says rectangle? Just go up to the
here. Just
go to the right of where you are now, about 2 inches. You can change it to a lasso, so you can go around in a regular shape.
I mean, that's. I'm going to use that. So now I could go into the curves. Can I go here?
Yeah, absolutely, and just double click on that, and that's it. Or even click on it actually, and it will just open.
Oh, but it's still doing everything.
Well, that's because the select. Right, okay. So you've got a selection active.
Yeah.
Right, but at the moment you're targeting the entire layer mask for that curve.
Understood.
So what you could do is where you are now. Yeah, if you only want it to affect that part, okay, you could fill it with the foreground color. I'm going to get you to do 2 steps. I'm going to get you to invert the selection, right? So do that with Shift Command I.
Shall I make a? Oh yeah.
No, you'll be all right. Okay. Actually, I think you just did Command I. Just undo that a second.
Shift
Command I. Right, that's good.
Okay.
Now click on the layer mask for your curves. So on that's it. Now just do just hit the delete key on your keyboard. Okay. Can you see that the mask has changed?
Yeah.
So that means the adjustment is only applying in that area, right?
Wonderful.
You can deselect that now. So Command D would get you out of that real quick.
And then now,
and you're welcome, Angus, by the way. It's all right, Angus is just saying. There you go. He really enjoyed that tip.
And then now I can. Great. Okay, cool. So now I could like darken the tulip. Only.
Absolutely. Yeah.
To be like this, which if I can just check. Yeah, I'd say, because then it's going to be like 50%. I want this bit to be about 50% yellow to then print 50%. So after basically I played around with the yellow, I would be quite happy with that as a set of separations. So that's one. I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to run you through different types of artwork.
It's perfectly all right. We're all good.
Great.
We're all good.
So this is another artwork, and this is by Lost Optics. So this was the proof that they'd sent. And then if I turn this off, these are the separations. So this is actually his separations are great, but essentially it's a really common mistake that a lot of people do when sending artwork is that they make a yellow layer grayscale, and actually the yellow is very light and it's not as it should be. Yeah. I don't know what the technical word for that is, but they
there's not enough ink. It's not, the density is incorrect.
Yes,
That's
exactly. So for example, these are the layers. So this is the black, which is accurate because the black was already the darkest. It's the darkest tone. But the blue, for example, will print like this is maybe 30% or something. If I use the color thing. So it's a very light blue, whereas actually it's not actually that far off. This is probably about 50% blue. And then we've got, if I look at the red, again, it's all a lot lighter than I think it should be for printing. Like this red should be about 80-90% to print as boldly as possible. So it's a really quick fix to like sort these layers. But essentially, I would just go through, and maybe I will use my new layer adjustment thing, curve, like this. Great. And then I would just, normally again, I'm quite, I just do most stuff by eye, but you can use like the dropper to see what the opacity
density is. Yeah, you can, yeah.
Density. Did you say density or opacity?
I did say density, but I meant opacity actually.
Oh, really? Okay.
Case, yeah.
Either, I think.
Yeah, well, when you're doing ink, it's density.
Which I am doing, so density.
Yeah, so, yeah.
So this would be, and then this is me change the curve, and then when I add the effect, you can see that it's going to be print a lot closer to his artwork.
Yeah.
So which is what we want. Actually want even the yellow a bit punchier. So this is the yellow, and then we've got the red, and so that's it with the simulation, the tint. And I'm going to tweak this by finding this guy with the down thing.
Yep.
Like so. So it could be like I could go all the way up, but then this little guy's appeared, and I want to make sure that he should be there. Oh yeah, it should be. So it really needed to be pumped up so you could still, because this was almost like invisible actually.
Yeah.
Which, if I turn that off, it would hardly have printed. And basically with Risograph, when something is set to 25%, the printer will apply a dot screen. So if you want crisp lines, it's got to be 100% black for it to print a solid. Yep. So for especially artwork like this, it's really good when you do use solid colors, because the graphic lines will be a solid line as opposed to being like almost with text and line work, it can look pixelated because it's got the screen applied. So it's really, it's almost better to sort of pump up the density.
They're common mistakes that people make in all forms of printing, really. They do things like I've seen people create tints from tints. So they've got, like a 45% tint of a color, and then they've made a 50% tint of that, which the math doesn't work out in a linear fashion that way. You end up with something. Or people do things, they go, oh yeah, I want that to be really soft, and they do it at 5%, and 5% is invisible.
Yeah.
In terms of.
Can totally. With Rezo, I feel like anything between 0 and 10 it's not worth it. And also what happens, depending on how it's been printed, but it's like if I did a gradient from like 0 to 100, the 0 to 10, it just
nothing
drops
there.
off.
Yeah, there's not enough.
Totally. So you get a really weird ending. So I try and recommend people, if they have like a gradient section, they start at 10 and they go to, so that weird bit just,
Well, I mean, you have on, I can say this as a member, right, is you have loads of great things to help people actually prepare their artwork. You've got that whole tutorial section in there. You also provide swatches for all the different colors, don't you? So
which is so important actually. I think if people are wanting to print, it's so good to see the inks in front, because on screen, like my red on screen is going to be different from, I've not actually, even though I'm a printer and I use a lot of color, my calibrations, I don't think I've ever calibrated. But if
you know what the inks are going to do, you're in a different situation, because you're at the very end of the print stream just there. So you can kind of get away with that. You're not making those decisions. You know what's based on the actual thing. Can I just ask a quick question as well from Caroline? She said, Gabriella, you said there are limited colors. About how many are there? Is it just mainly primers? It's a lot of colors, isn't it? It's not.
Yeah, so basically different Rezo studios will have different colors. You basically need to buy for every color you need a drum. And so I have collected over the years. I've got now 18, but it really depends who you print with. So some people will have 10, some people will have like 24 and have like commissioned custom colors to be made. Whereas I use mostly all standard colors, but there's still 18, which is loads. I end up using the same sort of palettes. But the nice ones, or my favorite ones, are the fluorescents, like fluorescent pink, fluorescent orange. Fluorescent yellow is really nice, but it's not as visible because it's so light and bright. Mm-hmm. And then the metallic gold, which is lovely, because it's the only ink that prints solid. So you can print onto black. Basically, all the other inks, if I printed this onto black, basically, I'm just going to like open this up and make this black.
Yeah.
If it would have just invert it. Oh yeah, there we go. So it would not print, the red would not print like this. Instead, it would print like this.
Yeah.
So like red ink. I mean, you would see maybe something, but it's the only.
It would look shinier in that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas the gold is the only one that you could print and it would be beautiful metallic onto black.
I'm sure there were some examples of that in one of the recent things. Didn't you include some?
Probably. There's like so when you become a member, you get your little there's a little black card with gold.
That's it. Yeah.
So and the sample pack has like all these sort of like swatches, because it's so annoying though, because it makes my job harder, because I need to then talk about the fact that Riso inks are all translucent and on different colored papers they're going to behave different, and then there's the gold, which is like it's got its own
the exception that proves the rule.
Exactly, and it's so annoying. But I would recommend getting your hands on just anything that's been Riso printed before, because it really helps to see on screen what will how something might translate, basically. But with the club, there is like, I think have I opened up the website? I
just think I might be able to answer this one for you. There's another question as well from Sandrine, who's asking, is there an ink transfer problem in Riso? And there can be, right? If you've got like lots of saturation, you can get ink transfer between prints, can't you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you do paper interleaving as well, don't you?
Blocking.
To stop
I
that.
call it blocking.
Blocking is actually the correct term.
Very good.
I just made it sound 50% more posh by saying paper interleaving, but blocking.
And that describes what's happening though, because it's like as the prints leave, I'll basically stand there at the edge of the printer and put sheets of paper to like separate. So when they dry, to be honest, I do it mostly when I'm going to guillotine anything, because obviously
pressure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, and also I only do it when it depends how economical, because it adds costs, because it's like more time and more material. So like if you're not worried about the backs getting dirty, then I'm kind of like, it's fine. But if you want, like with the postcards, it's nice to have the clean back.
Yeah.
So I will do this. But yeah, you do get this. And the inkier it is, the more chance you're going to get it.
Yeah. But you don't get it between passes though, do you? When it's actually going on, do you get any of that between passes, or is that?
Sometimes. So, and not like, I only would do this block. I actually called it blotting, but you said blocking. So I need to say blocking.
Okay, whichever. I think blocking is the correct term, but it's, yeah.
So I only normally block on the last pass, because then I'd have to like go back through and pull out all the sheets. And it just adds time and cost. And most people come to Riso because it's like more, the price isn't as, it sort of hits.
Short runs are affordable.
So, exactly.
Yeah.
So I'll only ever do it on the last pass, which is normally the darkest and inkiest. So I sort of save that artwork, those layers to be done with the blocking.
Yeah. Yeah, I get it. I never had to worry about that, because in the time that I was a printer, which was long before you existed on the planet, I was an offset printer, so we didn't have to worry about that stuff. Just kind of blanket, took it all away, and there you go.
Hey, yeah. That's great. I mean, I'd love to have like something, an add-on to the machine that can do it, but then it's fine. I'll just stand there.
Yeah. No,
it means I can also watch, because obviously it's a good time to stand at that edge of the machine as the prints come out, because then you can spot because there will be some ones that maybe have been pulled through at a different speed. So there will be, no print will ever be the same. There's only so much control you can have as a Riso printer. You can move the drums slightly, but when the paper sort of is so mechanical in that bit, it's really hard to, if it gets jolted through or like two get pulled through, you do need to sort of be there to catch those mistakes, but you'll always miss, I guess, some.
Oh yeah, that's just part of it. I mean, even an offset machine is like that. You've only got so much variation that you can do to tune to that actual pass, and then that's just printing.
Yeah.
Full stop.
Totally.
So, yeah.
So I'm just going to quickly. Oh, where is it? If you're a member, members lounge. So I think
it's cool. Oh, I love it.
You can see like. As a member, you can go in and sort of get more information about the artist and the work that's been printed that month. But then where is the tutorials? And maybe it's at the bottom. Oh yeah. So you've got access to more of the tutorials and then the templates. So you can download, I think there's lots of stuff you can just download, like the color swatches for your Adobe, A3 templates, zine layouts, stuff like that, just to help with the setup. And then there's loads of tutorials that I made a while ago that are kind of, this is like almost a better tutorial because it's live rather than me like having a screen grab like every Photoshop step that I did. I should really do some videos. But
one of the things you might be able to do is you might be able to actually just pop a link to this into the club and just say, here's some things that you did, but there was just an old guy interrupting me all the time.
No, this is good. This is like way more dynamic than if it was just me. So yes, basically I set it up as a sort of, I basically set up the Riso Club more for the website, and then actually it's all really, I feel like it's mostly about the postcards. I don't know how often people use the stuff. I mean, maybe people do and I have no idea, but I really enjoy it obviously for the artwork because that's the new ever-changing aspect for me that's out of my control in a lot of ways, which is really nice. So here we are again, back on.
I'm just going to jump in and answer another quick question here while you're going into the next thing. Cool. Sandrine's asking, it would be nice to see Gabriella running a couple of passes. That's kind of difficult to set up just at the moment though, Sandrine, because given that is Scotland still in lockdown? I think it is, isn't it?
We've just gone in again to tier 4 on Friday.
So
it means I've got limited access again to the studio. But I would like to do one where it's more live and we can do printing. Yeah. Maybe.
I mean, I'd actually love to come up there at some point and bring a camera rig up and actually do that. So we'll have to just see what the future holds. We'll see what we can.
That would be
through
ideal.
The current situation.
That would be really good.
Yeah.
Okay. So basically with this artwork, just to recap, everything needs a little bit pumping up, more density. So to get this one ready, that's exactly what I would do. So this is, oh God, it's quite confusing when you see it like this. So the blue would need another little adjustment layer, which I'm going to do like this. So to get it probably, basically, even though his proof, I'm going to go back to his proof quickly, even though it's quite a light blue, I think it's really important that these lines are bold.
Yep.
So I might take the liberty of like, because it's like sometimes I'll have time to sort of go back to them and sort of say these are the refinements. So I'll probably just send them an update to be like, this is how it's going to print. But if it's basically 100% black, so I'm just going to, even though that looks like a weird, I've just made the curve like a vertical line. But let's see what it's like. It's still not super black. So then sometimes what I do, Tony, which I don't know if is really bad behavior. Oh, so I've just duplicated the layer. But what I was going to do is just put one on top of the other and multiply it to make it really dark.
Oh, yeah, that would work.
But then it made the gradient a big block.
Well, I mean, the thing is, the whole thing is going to multiply. You could probably do it locally with just a selection. But if you want to do the whole thing,
Anyway.
Yeah.
I will need to tweak that one. But basically, this whole artwork is almost like the files are great, but it's just about pumping up the density to sort of get it to match. Next, we've got Andrei. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, but so this is his proof. And I think his files were like pretty much perfect. So these are them just in gray or in black and white, grayscale.
Cool.
Really nice. And then again, what I'll do is like go in and do this effect just to check So basically I've just been copying and pasting the layer styles. And then blue, for example, and is this one multiply? Not yet. So we'll start to see it come together. And then I think this one is, oh no, the top one is red and this one is going to be blue. So my mistake. Dunk, dunk. And then this one's going to be red, I think. And multiply. Yeah, so that's the 3 colors. And then, and then black. So this one just needs multiplied, and then we've got the proof.
Yep.
Like so. So how does it compare? So I think basically for him, I would just do maybe a bit darker on the blue and the yellow just to get them up. So they're a bit darker, so they print more solidly. But essentially the artwork is ready to go. It's so nice to see the different styles. It's really cool. And then lastly is Pren, and their artwork was made in Illustrator. So I've actually got that open, but I've proofed it because they sent me black and white separations, which is actually really hard to read because I'll just show you them here.
Oh, right. So they output to a PDF. They did.
Exactly.
Yeah. Print separations. Yeah.
Exactly. So from these, it's really hard to mentally read like black over blue over. So what I'll normally do is pull it into Photoshop, like how I've done with the others, like how I've done here, and check it. That's
exactly what I would do.
Great.
That's exactly what I would do. Yeah.
Okay. So, and basically when you do this, I actually spotted there's so many easy things to do. Like you've kept a square black and actually it should be white. So there's lots of wee things with Riso. I think when it's your first time, there's so many wee things that you might forget to do, but hopefully it's part of like the learning process about it. But I try and motivate people to keep going because it's just like the more you print and you output like this, the easier obviously it becomes, or the sort of those little traps that you fall into with certain types of artwork you'll be able to get around. Sorry, I'm a bit waffly today.
No, it's lovely. And this is the thing. And in Illustrator artwork especially, it's knowing when to overprint. So when to actually tell Illustrator that something overprints, and also when to knock out from there as well. And this is the thing, people think, yeah, I've done all of those, I've set them all to overprint, and then they go, oh, but this looks really muddy and it's orange. And I thought it was going to be
totally.
Yeah.
And this basically has happened with this artwork. So you can see the proof. Oh no, I've just not put multiply on, bear with me. But basically there's some bits that haven't been cut out or knocked out is the term that you said. But it would have been hard to see from those separations, the black and white ones, because they're just, so essentially there needs to be a white square knocked out here. I think there's a blue tint all over this whole yellow. So this needs knocked out.
Yep.
Down the bottom here, you can see this needs knocked out and the red needs to be isolated. So yes, we've got time. So I've got it open here in Illustrator. So this is what they sent me, which is beautiful. But this isn't the separated one, but it's really helpful that they've sent also the vectors so I can do it manually.
Yeah.
So there's 2 ways I would do this. One would be to, because even if I select all the layers, not this one, I'm just going to turn this top one off. I duplicated it so I can play around with one and compare it with the original. But if they're all multiple, I don't know if there's a way around this, but basically I want to just multiply the individual layers without doing it to the whole group. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's a few different ways to do it. I mean, the best way to actually do it, and you wouldn't be able to see it in this particular view anyway, would be to specify things as overprinting, which you do using the attributes panel. Okay, so if you go to, that's it, and window and attributes. Okay, just down and down and down, and slow down and stop, just there. That's when you can specify that things overprint in there.
Where did it go?
No, it's over on the left-hand side of your interface. You'll just see it says attributes and overprint fill. Just go to the left.
Me. Oh, it's behind my video is there. I was like,
Oh, right.
where is it?
No, it's a naughty panel and it does hiding. But that's where you can specify that things overprint.
Okay.
And what you would then do is you would go into overprint preview to see it. And you do that using this fantastic shortcut, which is Shift, Option, Command, Y. So most of one hand and your elbow.
So now is it in the...
That's in overprint preview now. So you would actually see where things are overprinting.
So I wouldn't actually have to do the Photoshop potentially?
Not really. Not if you've got it that way.
Yeah, because now you can see the same areas in Photoshop where this...
Yeah.
Oh, wait. So that's the original.
Yep.
And then that's the one that I've done with Multiply. And it's the overprint. Yep. So one actually weird, quick way I've managed to work around with people's artwork like this is to make it all live paint.
Yep.
And then, because then it does the knockouts.
Yep.
So I'll maybe just do it like this. So if I go to, so this is the group that I've got here.
Mm-hmm.
This is the artwork all in this proof folder. So if I go to live paint, actually, do you know what? I'm just going to make one more, because the bottom group is now the one with the multiply. This I'll keep as proof, and this is going to be live paint treatment. Live paint.
Live paint. That's all right. Sounds good.
Okay. So I'm going to hide this. Okay. So this one, I'm going to live paint, make, and then I instantly expand it. Live paint, expand. And then, I find this so therapeutic to do. I could do this all day. Object, select same color, fill color.
Yeah. Yep.
And then I'll group that with my Command G. So that's my blue layer.
Yep.
And then the same, select same, fill color, group. So that's the yellows. Hopefully it's behaving itself. Select same, fill color, group. And that's the black. And then one more. Select same, fill color, group. So hopefully, what are these randoms? They're maybe white. Yep. So I'm just going to turn them off and make sure they're still okay without them. I think this looks good.
Nice. Sean wants a live pint right now, he's saying.
Don't we all? It's now past noon as well. Okay.
There you go.
I think, to go to the pub. Okay, multiply.
Doesn't mean anything to me though. I don't drink, so.
Oh, wow. That's good. Oh, that's good. That's healthy.
I gave up a year ago. I used to drink like lots, but I gave it up.
And do you feel better for it?
Yeah, man, loads.
Oh. Right. So does that look like the proof? I think it does.
Yeah.
So essentially, this would be the way I would go and modify Pren's artwork, because obviously the stuff he sent wouldn't have printed right. And rather than me going into his separations that he'd already exported, I need to move my little... 1 second. Rather than me going into here and like going backwards, it's almost easier for me to start again and just now resave these. So what I would do is make this black like so, and save that as a PDF. And that would be the new yellow. And then do the same for the aqua or the blue, it's just medium blue.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that would be the correct ones. Just now I feel like my eyes are not being as attentive, so I might have missed something, but I would go in and just double check. But I'm pretty sure this looks accurate. So that's the black layer, so I would just save that. File, save as PDF. And then the last one with the red, and that would be, sugar. That was a shortcut I didn't know existed. Okay.
Oh, was that Command M?
Yeah. So there we go. So that minimized my window. And then that is the red, I think. Yes, it is. And his opacities or the transparencies or the densities is the word, look good. Like the red being like about 50% will print close to this. It's never going to be exactly the same as the proof, but at least, I'm going to actually just check that the blue is correct. I wanted to make sure the blue was isolated from the circle, which it has. See here.
Yeah.
So it's things like that wouldn't have, I think, in his original, like here's the blue, it was missing the
so you'd have ended up with that green
exactly
on there. Yeah.
Which in his artwork there's no overlay, so you've not got any green, so it would be weird if this started to have a green, because it's more stylistically, it wouldn't be as in keeping as the sort of isolated colors. So that is the things. And then essentially I bring all of those into, instead of InDesign, because of A3, because Riso's A3, I do everything in Illustrator. And this, I basically then lay out all 4 artworks onto an A3 stencil.
And then work and turn.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's kind of the range of open windows that I have for you. But I don't know if there was any specific questions about any of that.
Let's have a quick look. The great thing about this community is they pick up on everything you're talking about, and they chat away about different things. So trapping is something that we'll talk about in just a minute. I think that would be a good thing to talk about, because I guess that when you've done it this way, that's the only thing you've got to watch for, right? Is a bit of trap. And just in case people don't know what that is, if you have things with what is known as a tight register, right, that means that they are pretty much, if they don't butt together perfectly, or they butt together a bit too much, you can get overlap or white gaps in between those things. So you do a process called trapping to prevent for the process and recession of different colors. Do you deal with that? Is that something you deal with before it goes to?
Yeah. So if it's my artwork, I'll obviously do it, because it's quite a stylistic thing in terms of with Riso it is, because some people really like the misregister. So then you don't need to trap, because people want the gaps and they want it to be more visibly offset. Whereas if you want I don't want to say neater, because it's kind of, but if you want it to be less visible when it misregisters slightly, then trapping is great, because it fills that, like you say, it fills that gap. So normally I do it with strokes, and I would just like add a stroke C for this red. So this is when, that process of me doing live paint might not have been the right order, because, or maybe actually, I'm just gonna look at this. See, for example, this, I'd stroke now this whole object, which might not be right. Whereas I would want to have just brought in that circle by like a millimeter, so that that blue background goes in behind the red dot. Or I guess you could just do it just to the red dot, for example, and add like a 1 stroke. But then I would also want to make sure this guy gets it as well. Yeah.
That's a good old school trapping method. That's good.
I feel like I'm very old school actually in this whole
Desert Island trapping. You know what you're doing. You put out great stuff. And what I really like is that you care so much about the people that give you their stuff. I mean, I've worked with a lot of printers, and some of them are just like, it's not good enough, take it back. They don't explain what's not good enough about it. You know, but that's in larger printers. They've got a timesheet to work to, and a lot. But you've got, because your studio's busy, but you still manage to care for people in that way, which is really, it shows that you really care about it. And that's, I think that's why people love it.
If I let that slide though, no one would print. It's like, so for me, it's like, if I stop caring, then I don't know, why would, It's a win-win, because it also makes my job easier, because if I know the artwork, it's like if something's been trapped, it makes my job as a printer easier, because the registration, it isn't as like make or break to an artwork. It's like if there's a white, I don't know, some artwork you notice it more than others, but it does. I'm doing it for myself as well. Like it is when someone's artwork's been prepared as well as possible, it means that I'm confident as I can be that it will be as, because it's about expectations. So it's like I want them for their expectations to be met. So the more I can sort of help, advise, and explain and all that stuff. But it's like an ongoing Riso as well. It's like it's not straightforward. So it is like an ongoing thing, but keeps it interesting.
Yeah, and I guess it helps if people have done a bit of screen printing first. I think that screen printing is the fundament of all print out, people should have, if they're going to do anything in which any method of mass communication that isn't digital, they should, and perhaps sometimes even for digital, they should do some screen printing first. So they kind of understand how colors lay down and how translucent inks work and how solids work and the things. I can remember one of my own personal early mistakes when I wanted a really rich black, and I messed around with UCR, which is undercolor removal.
Oh, I don't know that.
Yeah, no, it's a thing. You don't really need to know about it anymore. There's two. There's GCR and UCR, and I messed around with it and thought, well, I'm going to turn that off because I want it to be like this. And the printer, and given that I'd been a printer before this point, I had no excuse whatsoever. But then again, I only did sheet fed single and two color.
Okay.
Whereas this was process, and the printer rang me up and said, "We can't run your job." Right. And I said, "Well, why?" And they said, "Because you've not removed any of the undercolors from this black. You specified a rich black that's got some things in it, but also in the color thing that was underneath the black." I said, "Don't remove any of that," because I thought that would be super rich.
So does that mean you pumped up so there was blue, cyan, magenta, yellow, all
there
of
was pretty much as much of every color that went. So it was a full-on 100% cyan, 100% magenta, 100% yellow, and 100% black. And they just said, "This isn't print. It isn't going to print. It won't." Because
what would happen? Does it all mix?
Yeah, it just becomes super muddy. It'd foul the machine because it'd be too much ink density, to.
Yeah, I mean that's an issue that I have, but I always try so when I see someone's separations, I kind of gauge how much ink is going to be on that page, because the inkier it is, like you say, the muddier it's the same, or too inky becomes. Just depends how crisp you want your finish, but some people again love the mess of Riso that it can be.
It's hard. I mean, it's something you can set up in Photoshop. So you can set up ink limits in Photoshop, and you can so with your curves, you can change that and set the ink limits. And in Acrobat and InDesign both they share the ink manager. Acrobat is a slightly more advanced version of the one that's in InDesign. Okay. But that you can specify an ink limit target. Yeah, and you can also do all of the other things. If you can input your material, your substrate, your material. Yeah, you can, and let's just say that it's a super absorbent paper. You can actually counter for the absorbency of that, and just say, it's going to get this much gain, from your halftones that look muddy. But they're all fun topics for another day.
Yeah. I wonder if there's if anyone's done that for Riso inks, because will they be different?
No, I mean there will be that somebody somewhere will have calculated.
Yeah, or the tolerances.
Yeah, possibly. I mean, there's a process that exceeds. Do you know what hexachrome is? So hexachrome is a 6-color process.
Okay.
And there's one that exceeds that with technically unlimited spot colors. Now, I only know of 2 books that have been printed using this process. I only know one printer that prints them, and that's Boss Print in London.
Okay.
And they do things that have a ridiculous amount of spot colors, but it far exceeds what you would get from a process print, in that you can have detail in shadows and things like that. It's incredible. And the only 2 books, one is called The Art of Love, which is a book it would be a few £100 to get hold of a copy, because the books are really expensive at that process. And that's a book about the adult entertainment industry. It's actually amazing. The colors and everything are amazing. Wow. There's neons in it. And the other one is my mate Julian Calverley's book, his book Northwest, of which there are editions starting at, I think they start at £120 and they go up to, I think the most expensive edition, I can't even remember how much that is. I think I paid £350 for my edition, which is the coffee table deluxe binding thing, but they're just stunning.
Beautiful objects.
But that company, Boss Print, they created a Photoshop extension that allows that to work, because you need to input all of those different values and then get all of those things out. So you need a profile for them, essentially. But I bet you there are Riso profiles out there,
There's a really good, they're called Color Library, and color spelled like the American way. And they're based, I think, in Switzerland, and they've made amazing Riso profiles. So if you're wanting and sometimes I use the profiles for the Riso Club because they've got the CMYK that uses the fluoro pink, and they've got ones with metallic gold, which are great. But I don't think I've ever used the profile all the way. I always then tweak. So say it's got like orange, it's an orange and blue profile. I'll like make the blue like an aqua blue instead of, so it will tweak the profiles. Like, I guess it was never designed for.
But that's the thing. The profile only does part of the job, because at the end, the final variable in any process, and even with process color, people think CMYK is a given. That if you send something with particular CMYK values, it will come back almost as if it's printed spots, but it doesn't, because the final variable is always going to be the press, and the operator, and also the inks. CMYK inks, like other products, you buy them in different ink densities, so how much actual pigment is suspended in the ink, so it's always and that's where your skill comes in, because you know your machine, you know how your machine will respond to certain things, so you can tune it. But the profile gets you 95% of the way there.
I feel like I would love to do a session with you, Tony, about the printing, because there are you can send it either screen or grain. This is like from the driver to the printer, and the grain is like the dither, is that right?
Dithering,
So you can send a stencil using the dither, which I only ever know it for like the aesthetics of something, or like how it's going to print. I don't know. Technically, it always tends to make an artwork slightly lighter, like across the board. But then the screen variants, you can do either 102 DPI, 45, which gets you nice chunky bitmap, or the 72 or whatever. But when I do sometimes like a full CMYK using all screen, you get this moire that we spoke about last time.
That's because there's no offsetting. That's the thing, and that's where the offset part comes in. In that, you do. You get a distinctive pattern, whereas the pattern is changed by twisting each screen around by a certain number of degrees.
That's it.
And that's why if you stand next, the easiest way to explain that to people is to get them to go out and stand next to a billboard poster, because the dots there are so huge you can actually see them, and you can it's really easy to explain. But no, fantastic. I think people would love a print-based stream. I think when times would allow, I think it'd be really good, because at the moment people are chatting about that, people talking about things like, so we've got, I think when we were talking about ink earlier, and they were going, well, I was saying, gosh, that's really bad. Actually, this is another project where somebody did something that took 5 days to dry. It sounds like it. So fantastic. No, that was mine they were talking about. So, no more than 200% ink for digital print, because that's another thing. Digital print is very, very different, but still has the same problems. But no, fantastic. 45 degrees. I can't remember if one's 30, one's 45. I think it's a 15 degree separation, if I remember correctly. It's amazing how quickly you forget this stuff if you don't have to deal with it anymore.
But also, I never have to deal with the angles unless. Because probably like 1 in 20 or like a full CMYK. So I always end up printing it, and then I'm like, the angle, because I never have to normally consider that. It's mostly like, because of the style of artwork, mostly it's just like chunky, this stuff, which you don't need to worry about angles.
Anyway, for now, we're out of time. But it's been fantastic having you with us, and I hope that we'll see you again sometime soon.
Yeah, that would be ace.
Yes,
thank you.
Thanks everybody for joining us. Don't forget, we've got our own Discord. You can join that and chat away. Do go ahead and check out Gabriella's risotto site in Glasgow, just over there. Sorry about that.
No, good.
In Glasgow, and join the Riso Club. It's fantastic. You get artwork sent to you in a beautiful little envelope. It's really nice. So anyway, thank you very much, everyone.
Nice.
Stay safe and stay creative.